Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be here in the Committee of the Regions. As I said, we right now have a choice to make because on the 28th of February is the registration deadline if you would like to vote here in Belgium as an EU citizen for the Belgian lists. So it's time for you to make a plan. Do you want to vote in the Belgian lists or do you want to vote for your home country? That's what we're here to inform you about. So we are here in Brussels, which is the capital of Europe. It's also the most cosmopolitan city in the democratic world, with 2/3 of the population born abroad. And we, through the Migration Policy Group, were working with a campaign called VoteBrussels to get EU citizens to register to vote in the local elections. And with just dozens of volunteers from the EU institutions and around, in 5 months, we were able to double the voter registration rate. So we got 25,000 new voters for the local elections and 300 EU citizens who ran as candidates for all of the parties. So that's why we thought, well, we should actually be doing the same thing for the European elections because all of us here have really benefited from the European Union, from freedom of movement. I mean, it's not just our job, right? It's also our passion. So I think that for all of us, there's a moral obligation to vote in the European elections, either in our country of citizenship or here in Belgium. And we, as mobile EU voters, are often a kind of first-time voter because many mobile EU citizens have never voted from abroad. So they might have voted in the European elections before when they were living in their country, but then they move abroad and they don't know exactly what are the rules here, what are the rules now that I'm abroad, and just by missing some key information, you might not realize that you missed the chance to turn out to vote in the European elections. For example, in 2014, only 10% of mobile EU citizens who were living in Belgium registered to vote for the European elections, and it was pretty much the same in 2009. So you might think, well, that means that everybody else must have participated in the European elections from their country of citizenship. We don't have great statistics, but those that we have from consulates don't suggest that that's the case. And actually, Eurobarometer in 2015 found that half of Europeans say in the European elections, if I was living abroad, I'd actually prefer to vote in my country of residence than in my country of citizenship. So it's a choice that all of us are going to be having to make. First key thing to know, if you are a UK citizen, you can still register to vote. Let's see what happens at the end of the month. But who knows what might happen? It would definitely be interesting, let's say, to be registered to vote in the European elections. That might play into the Brexit dynamic. If you are a Czech, Irish, Maltese, or Slovak citizen, or have any friends, they actually cannot vote in the European elections in their country of citizenship. So if they'd like to vote, they have to vote here. So if you have any friends who are Czech, Irish, Maltese, or Slovak, make sure that they register to vote in the next week. So besides those people who have to vote here in Belgium, of course, for all of us, is going to be a choice of what we care about. Which countries' democracies do we want to see improve? Where would we like to see a better representation of the country in the European Parliament? Which systems do we believe in? There are also some practical things to take into account. So some of your countries, for example, only allow you to vote from the embassy or the consulate itself on the day of the election. So that might not be very convenient for some of you. Or other countries actually make it quite easy for people to vote abroad. So you might want to take that into account. So how do you figure out what the national rules are? Go to a website called howtovote.eu. Very simple. On howtovote.eu, you just put in your nationality. I am French. I live in Belgium. And it shows you very simply, here are the rules for French people who want to vote for the European elections for the French lists. Here are the rules for EU citizens who live in Belgium, and it orients you to the websites of your national authorities. You can also, I recommend, look at the website of your consulate because they might tell you about specific local procedures that are required. Now, if you want to know how to register to vote for the European elections. There is a nice federal website for those of you living outside of Brussels called europeanelections.be. If you live in Brussels, then go to the website commissioner.brussels. This is from the Brussels Commissioner of Europe that represents the interests of EU citizens towards the Brussels authorities and represents the Brussels authorities towards the EU institutions. They have a very simple website in English and also some extra materials there. So, very quickly, how do I sign up to vote? If you were signed up to vote for the local elections, that's wonderful. You are helping to improve Brussels democracy. The European elections are a separate procedure. So just because you're registered for the local elections, actually that does not mean that you're signed up for the European elections, because it's a choice, right? You could vote in the local and not the European and not the local, both, neither. So what that means is you have to, if you're not already registered for the European elections here in Belgium, because you voted in the 2014 or 2009 European elections for the Belgian lists, then you have to register. So the registration form is extremely simple. It's what I shared with you. It's a one-page form, both sides. You can find it on the website of commissioner.brussels. Also, I checked, nearly all of the communes have this information on their websites, often in French. So what do? Well, you fill out the form. And then you can send it by mail to your commune. We're going to post that information on VoteBrussels' Facebook page, so you can share that around with your friends. But you can also find that information on your commune's website. Other option, the vast majority of the communes allow you to send this by email. In both cases, mail or email, you fill out the form, and you also have to attach a copy of your ID. So either your Belgian residence ID, your special ID, if you have that. So if you want to send it by email, what I recommend, fill it out, take a photo of the form, take a photo of your ID, and from a smartphone, you can immediately send it by email. I'll take questions at the end if you don't mind. So you send it by mail or email. You have to do that by the 28th of February 2019. If you're an EU citizen, all you have to be is registered as a resident in the commune, or, again, if you work for the EU institutions, that you have the special ID card. That's it. You don't have to go to the commune. You don't have to wait in line. Very simple. So, as I said, if you've already registered for the communal elections, you do need to register for the European elections. If you've already registered for the European elections before in Belgium, you don't have to re-register. Now, how does this impact your rights in your country of citizenship? Basically, you can be registered to vote here in Belgium, and you can still be registered to vote in your home country. So you can be registered in two places, but you can only vote in one. So since Belgium has obligatory voting, you should probably vote in Belgium. There are no sanctions for not voting in Belgium. There's a theoretical fine of 30 to 60 euros that you would face, but the Minister of Justice gets the information on everyone who doesn't vote, and they would have to sanction everyone in that category, so it's not like your commune would be nasty or your neighbor would denounce you. And as a result, 15% of the Belgian population does not vote in the elections. They're not fined. I don't know a Belgian politician that would want to end their career by fining 15% of the population. Anyway, so there's nothing really to fear about obligatory voting, and as you'll hear later on, there are actually some facilities to make it easy for you to vote if you actually just can't make it to the polls on election day. So, as I said, you cannot vote in 2019 in Belgium and in your home country, but if in the future you actually change your mind and you want to vote in the European elections for your country of citizenship, you just deregister as a European elector in Belgium. You send a simple email, I no longer want to be on the European list, they have to take you off, you can re-register if you want to at any time. It has no effect on your status here. You can still vote in the local elections. Pretty straightforward. Some people said, well, hold on, if I want to register here, do I have to deregister in my home country? As I said, no. You can be registered to vote in several countries, just don't vote twice. Now, as I said, Belgium has obligatory voting, so all voters are expected to come to the polls. 15 days before the election, you'll receive a voter convocation card that tells you where you're going to be voting. So what do you do if you, on the 26th of May, are working or are traveling or are sick or have other valid excuses? You can vote by proxy. So I also have copies of the proxy form. You can download them almost anywhere. The proxy form, what it means, you fill it out, you give this and your voter convocation to any other registered voter in Belgium. So they could be an EU citizen, they could be a Belgian citizen, and what they do is they take that proxy form and your voter convocation and they go to your polling place and they vote in your place. So you have to tell them who you want to vote for, and you have to trust them enough, obviously. If the reason why you can't vote is because you're traveling for personal purposes, then communes ask you to have that document validated at the commune. Many communes allow you to do that by email, but you can just send an email to the commune and say, hey, I'm going to be traveling. How do I have to get a stamp from you for that form? But it's relatively straightforward. And I should also add, if you know which party you want to vote for and you have a problem finding a proxy, write to the party, because they obviously have an interest to make sure that your vote is counted and any registered voter can actually vote in your place. So there are facilities to help you if you need a proxy. But of course, we all want to vote in the European elections because we want to change something. We want our voice to be heard. There's a lot of great information on the website of Politico, also europeelects.eu, if you don't know that. Both of them are tracking the polls so we can see what's going on. It seems like it's going to be a very dynamic European election. Both of the mainstream parties on the left and the right seem to be losing support, and more European citizens are looking to vote for a diversity of parties. So there are a lot of options to vote for at the European level, maybe even more than in your national or local elections. A lot of European citizens so far are saying that they're going to be supporting parties that are actually in opposition at the national level. So it's going to be a quite dynamic election with some people who are not happy with politics at the national level wanting to be represented in a different way at the European level. So it'll be quite dynamic. And the majority of European citizens say that they're interested in new parties and new movements. So there are going to be a number of new lists that are going to be created during these elections. So it'll be interesting to follow. If you want to get more involved in the European elections, then sign up to This Time I'm Voting, which is the European Parliament's first ever collaborative campaign with civil society and volunteers. You'll get regular emails from them with content that you can share with your friends so that you can explain, why you're voting. There's also a great website from them called European-elections.eu, which will give you a lot of good overview info. Now, we are 100 days from the European elections. We have to make a choice. We have to be, let's say, the best of European citizens, because we have to already make some decisions about where we're going to vote. But, many people are not yet interested in the elections, and that's normal. Most people only start getting interested in elections in April or May, so you might be really excited about the European elections. Don't try and force it on your friends right now, because it's not a discussion. But, many people vote in the European elections because they get confidence in a particular party or candidate. They want to know exactly what the European Parliament has been deciding over the past few years. So a great thing to share are what are called voter aid applications. These are the kind of online surveys that allow you to answer a questionnaire, and then it matches you with a party. So Your Vote Matters. That's the name, yourvotematters.eu. That's already around from VoteWatch. And Your Vote Matters actually matches you to current MEPs based on how they voted in the European Parliament. So it asks you, how would you have voted on this question about single-use plastics, environment, migration, and based on that, it matches you to the closest candidate or party from your country, or actually from all across the European Union, which is a really fun thing to do. There are going to be more of these voter aid applications, probably in April or May. So definitely share those, because that's how a lot of people connect what they care about with who could represent them. And that will be happening more around April and May. So that's why I would like you all to vote in the European elections, and make sure right now you just need to tell your friends and your family, hey guys, you need to choose right now. If you're going to vote for your country of citizenship, go to howtovote.eu and figure out what the rules are to make sure that you have everything under control. But you might actually find it simpler or easier to vote in the Belgian elections here at your local commune. But for that, send or email your form before the 28th of February. Right, so now I'm open up for questions. Any questions? Yes. You just use the microphone.